give a moment for anyone who wants to come and witness this booge. Oh, God, my spine should not pop like that. Alright. Alrighty, weird. It is time to review what I've made so far for Arctic Extraction. Let's see. Alex, we're going to be reviewing what I've got written for this so far. Let's see here. Lo-fi. I want this to be a little more theme accurate considering what we're going to be doing. Cabin of the Snow Winter Lo-fi mix. Here we go. Default view. Because we're going to be going over the what I've gotten written so far for the second module. So, make sure this is a good volume. That'll be fun right there. Alright, so Arctic Extraction takes place in the winter of the Bastion Mountain Range. I got work tomorrow, but finish on Friday, so I can afford to be tired. Heck yeah, man. That's good. It's always nice when you actually have days off. Balivara from the upper continent. The controller can easily relocate this mission to any yada yada yada. That's basic instructions. This mission is designed for 4 to 6 troopers and should take 1 to 3 sessions depending on how thorough and cautious your troopers choose to be. Easy enough. Via riverboat, 50 miles to the west of their objective. They have the goal of extracting a captured auxiliary squad. To do this, they will have to move through the mountains on foot. Nice and easy so far. This mission assumes the player is made for just this mission. These are basic instructions. These are always the same for every module I write, so not much. Alrighty. So, let us go at this. Recent events. I'm probably going to rewrite these recent events and make it more, make it written more like a story. I just made that note here for myself, so I already wrote that yesterday. That was already seen. So what I've written since yesterday was I made it down to day 0 of this. So, squad of Blue Route troopers left the shift off the coast, having reached the shores of the river. Early in the morning of this day, the Southern Elves reached the hunter's cabin of the 2 troopers, sheltered in, and began to shake down the Southern Elves reached the hunter's cabin of the 2 troopers, sheltered in, and began to shake down the hunter, looking for the troopers. The troopers managed to escaped, now disguised as a pair of locals armed with bows and arrows, as they took while they fled. Sayuri, who sheltered herself within the cave, continued to move. She is becoming weary and weak at this time. As time goes on, she managed to find shelter once again, nestling herself into. Why is that capitalized? Nestling herself inside a crag, the sounds of wolves keeping her awake throughout the night. Alright, so now we're on to the actual instructions to the CC on how to run these NPCs and what they should do for these certain NPCs. So, to get started, Sayuri movements is by far in the worst shape out of the troopers who managed to escape. She is tired and likely have been run ragged for the last week. If you play for the last week, when your player's characters manage to find her, place her within the world 2 to 3 days into your trooper's travel. Her encounters outlined below. So I have a bunch of encounters that I'm going to start outlining today. That's my plan for writing for tonight. Julian, one of the other troopers. Julian treatment. Julian, having led the troopers' initial attempted escape, will not survive until extracted. The Southern Elves will use every will not survive the 7 days until the Southern Elves chopper arrives to transport prisoners. Period. That'll work. Nice. Several works. It works. Use your imagination to think of what state the troopers will find him in once they reach the outpost. You should really start making these streams permanent. I don't know why, but Twitch releases streams after a while. No, it's because I'm not partnered. I have to maintain a certain amount of viewership and I have to maintain a certain amount of viewership per their requirements. It's something like I have to average 5 viewers for them to last a while, and I only average about 3. So yeah, unless I get more people on and watching, that's not going to happen. It's because I meet the requirement of time streamed per month, but I don't meet the requirement of viewership. Nothing I can do about it. I average usually, like, when I'm playing the Long Dark or something like that, I usually get like 1 or 2 people that I don't know. They'll come in, they'll follow, they'll hang out for like 30-40 minutes and then leave. I don't know. But when it comes to this, it's gonna be something very different. Hey Killjoy, how's it going, buddy? When it comes to, streaming myself writing documents and stuff like that, it's a very different beast. All right, but here we go. Hunter troopers. So I made these 2 ambiguous for a reason, and I'll cover it in a second. So these 2 troopers are within the best state of those who escaped. They are unharmed but are lightly equipped. Have them be moving in the direction of the troopers, following a stream or a river leading to the ocean. They are not survival experts, but should be in fighting shape when your troopers encounter them. If one of your troopers dies due to unforeseen events, use these troopers as replacements. The troopers were left ambiguous, so either you or the player could make them fit the needs of the team. The only caveat to this is they will be armed with a knife. They will only be armed with a knife and a bow with 20 arrows. I gave it my all and didn't get so far with the Marines. Yeah, I heard, man. Yeah, I remember you sent me that message. It sucks, dude, but it happens. Hey, the Marine Corps has the highest denial rate out of all the branches. As much as the Air Force likes to say we're the smart branch, most people just don't apply to the Air Force. The Marine Corps just fucking kicks people out all the time. That's one thing that the Marine Corps is really good at, is it's really good at selling the term being Marine. They don't have difficulty getting able volunteers. All right. So, continuing on with this Radamia. So, I've built this entire thing to be framed up as more of a battle against the elements and nature itself than a battle against Southern Elves. While yes, you can easily still include combats with the Southern Elves, stuff like that. That is outlined below. That's something I'm going to outline some encounters and things like that as options. My primary focus on this module, because my last one was investigation. This one I'm focusing a lot on the environment. I want to focus heavy on combat on another one, and then I want to do, I don't know about the last one yet, but this one, it's fighting the elements. And to help set the tone, I've made some, I looked up some real quotes for like survival and stuff like that. Things about, surviving nature, yada yada. And then I made shit up that get the similar points across. In this case, fighting with the elements. Let's see, that should be weather. There we go. Whether you choose to believe me or not is up to you, but those mountains will kill you, even if you respect the fact that they can. Local hunter encountered by the Veil Rider Intelligence Corps. So, just things like that. I want to see those, like, we could like put those in like little boxes or put artwork and stuff with them to make it like, look a little nice and help fill out the book a little bit. All right. This operation will have your troopers dealing with sub-zero temperatures at the warmest time of the day. These temperatures, accompanied with billowing winds, ice storms, and blizzards, make for a deadly combination. To mimic the effects of how these temperatures and weather effects wear down on even troopers equipped with proper equipment, period. Grit roll, actually that should be a comma. Grit rolls should be called for regularly. Grit rolls should be called for every 3 to 4 hours of travel. Start with a DC of 13, then add to that add to those checks. Add to those checks based on the following examples. Whenever these grit rolls are failed, the troopers take a level of exhaustion. I also outlined a separate form of travel rules for this module. So, with the environment being so difficult to travel, unless the troopers are traveling along a road, their speed will be greatly reduced from the standard 25 miles per 8 hours to a crawling 10. Unlike the standard travel chart within the CC manual, this mission will impose a level of exhaustion during the first 8 hours of travel. Just reiterating, hey, when I say every 3 or 4, I mean every 3 to 4. Actually, I'm just gonna make that every 4 hours so it's nice and even. Grit rolls should be called for every. I'm just gonna leave it for now. Every 4 hours of travel. So, the way I'm doing this one is I'm just laying out instructions of how to conduct these environments. So, DC additions to the basic check of 13, and then followed by conditions affecting the environment. 3, add +3 for high winds. +3, falling into deep snow, pours into your clothes. Movement during the night. That's because I said up here that literally even at the warmest time of the day, it's still sub-zero. So by making it like this, it's just like, hey, congratulations, you're out in the middle of the night, there's no sun, it's freezing. You are absolutely going insane. Because one thing that a lot of people I don't think realize is how quickly absolute cold will affect you, especially when you're out in, like, most people just think freezing is freezing. But there's a massive difference in how it feels once you're from 32 degrees Fahrenheit and -20 degrees Fahrenheit. Both are freezing, but you can't breathe at negative 20 Fahrenheit. You're like breathing through your nose without a mask on, your nostrils freeze. It is a truly horrible experience, and I want it to be reflected in this of how absolutely it will wear down the troopers. Alright, next up. Fighting against the environment. Oh yeah, you thought the weather was enough? No. This is set in a mountainous environment. Think the Himalayas. Once your blood goes solid, you're probably not gonna have a good time. Yeah, exactly. There was a quote that I was reading about this when I was looking for quotes for this that I actually really liked. It was basically along the lines of your priority is to. Actually, I summarized the same thing in this quote right here. If you want to survive for a long time out in the wilds, you best listen up. Keep warm, keep dry, and for the love of God, stay hydrated. Veil Rider Intelligence member addressing a new class. So, the quote that I found was basically outlining how even if you're freezing, you fall into water, something like that, it is better for you to start a fire right now and strip naked and stay warm near that fire than to struggle and try to find shelter. It is better for you to start warming yourself as fast as possible, which makes a lot of sense. Because guess what? Being warm now is more important than anything else, because once you're cold, you can't fix it. You can't start a fire. Alright. The Bastion mountain range is a treacherous location. It has stood protecting Valley Vara from the rest of the world for thousands of years. Crossing these mountains is one of the most difficult things anyone can do. Your game should reflect this fact. Regular encounters for the squad to interact with will help build the sense of the environment being a threat just as large, if not larger than any southern elf. That right there basically sums up my goal for this whole module is you are not part of God. You are not part of Mother Nature's plan, and Mother Nature will bear down her entire wrath upon you. These environmental challenges are extremely dangerous in the best of conditions. Compound that with the snow and creatures driving the troopers to act quickly. Compound that with frigid temperatures. With frigid temperatures and creatures driving the troopers to act quickly. These can easily be an extremely deadly hazard. One cool tip I learned is to make a fire. It will keep burning under the ground, and you can sleep on top of it. It also burns slower, so it should still be going when you wake up. That is definitely a thing to do. It depends on the exact environment you're in. If the environment you're in is relatively just usually damp, that's a good idea. But if the environment you're in is frozen wet, I would highly advise against that. It is more advisable to get off of the ground. Because the ground will sap the heat out of you faster than anything, and if that fire goes out while you're asleep, you're going to wake up frozen. You're going to wake up freezing your fucking ass off. Either that, or that fire is going to melt all the snow around you and soak you. Which would be even fucking worse. Because now you're going to wake up Now, you might not wake up cold, but you're gonna wake up damp, which is gonna suck. There ain't no feeling like having damp ass socks. Ugh. Especially in the freezing temperatures. God, I hate it. Alright. The decision of how much you want to compound the environmental hazards with the dangers of weather is your decision. There are several example encounters that do both that both do and do not include both. That do this in. There are several example encounters. Is your decision. I don't need that portion right there at all. All right. So, environmental hazards. Nice and easy stuff to do for this. Climbing up a cliff, just basic instructions on hey, do these checks. Every 100 feet of cliff traverse they should. Your troopers should have climbing gear. If they don't, they are fools. Same thing with down. Traversing a fallen log across a chasm. Balancing carefully while crossing a fallen tree. You should pose danger to the troopers. Have them perform a dexterity check to attempt to cross the log. If they fail the initial check, a secondary, more difficult dexterity check may be performed to grab a hold of the branch on the log, preventing them from falling down to their deaths. Nice and simple. So I was including from this how there's just a bunch of different ways for the environment, for the weather and cold to fuck, or the weather, cold and stuff like that to fuck with you. The highest one that I wrote out so far, plus 10, completely submerged in water. The entire body is soaked in water and they are quickly freezing to death. So, traversing a river, thin ice. These two are two example environmental encounters that I wrote. Well, just possible like environmental hazards that are just extremely dangerous. Most rivers in the mountains are wide and not particularly deep. Staying dry is a must for the troopers. They will have to find some solution to cross the river and stay dry, or they will make a difficult grit check. Basically, it's just, yeah. If you guys decide, hey, diddle, we're just going to stomp across it, cool, your feet are freezing now, make grit checks. Freak avalanches. And I also outlined in the freak avalanches, like, hey, you're shooting guns, probably gonna cause an avalanche. Oh. This one is one of my favorites because a lot of people... Do you have climbing gear for the mountains? No. Fucking... Splat. Done. Dies like Wile E. Coyote. Alright, here we go. So... Unstable snowpack is one of my favorites because this one has gotten me quite a few times in real life when I'm out, when I go out hiking and stuff like that in the winters. Not all the hazards of the environment are obvious. The footing of the troopers can slide out from underneath them at nearly any time. Sending them tumbling down into the snow. When a trooper encounters this, call for either a dexterity or a brawn check to arrest their fall. Basically, all unstable snowpack is like, there's been enough snow on the ground and stuff like that. All the little dips and juttings up of the actual ground below the snow isn't that visible. Oh, guess what? You stepped on a big rock and slip. Shit like that happens. It sucks, but yeah. The snow ain't fun. Cold like this ain't fun. And thin ice. This one is another one. Because once again, getting a large bit of snowpack on the ground and over a thin layer and over what was initially a thin layer of ice can be extremely dangerous. Because a lot of people don't think of this is that snow insulates the ice. It doesn't start getting much thicker. It still does get thicker eventually, but a lot slower than it should. So, Thin ice is a very real danger as the troopers cross streams and lakes buried beneath the snowpack. When the troopers are walking across a spot of thin ice, have them perform a perception check to hear the muffled sounds of the ice beneath the snow beginning to crack. Should they fail, have them fall into the frigid water. That's a save or suck. I don't really like save or sucks, but this is supposed to be brutal and supposed to be a, hey, up yours, the world's gonna try to kill you. General Winter is not your friend. General Winter holds deep hatred for all human life and will kill you and your enemy equally. Oh yeah. Exactly. So, now we've outlined 2 portions of this trifecta of this environment's trying to kill you. Now for the 3rd portion. Wildlife in the mountains. Because this is set up near the area that I wrote for the Veil Riders, the Valley Vara. I made a lot of really nasty creatures for it, and because it's in the mountain ranges of Valley Vara, I can have fun. Lots of fun. I put a good chunk of the creatures that I wrote into this portion of it. So, I wrote, this isn't the actual encounters, but it's just a outline of general disposition of the creatures. And a short description. So, another one that I wrote. Another little quote that I wrote for this. Up here in the north, you're just another animal wandering in the snow looking for their next meal. Those fancy weapons of yours don't change that. Valley Vara Hunter. I like including these things. I think it makes me feel like I'm helping set the tone of what this module's going for. Of just like, yes, it's fucking difficult, everything awful. I hope you like freezing. Alrighty, so continuing on. The Bastion mountain range is filled with wild animals, many of which are predators who can and will attack the troopers in the hopes of eating them, while many of the other animals are docile and would rather avoid the troopers altogether. Creatures that live in extreme cold equal tough. Creatures that live in mountains equal tough. Creatures that live in the cold plus the mountains equals you're fucked. Yeah, pretty much. So I included a few examples of just some animals and their dispositions. You know, you got your classics, the bears, the wolves, the bears and the direwolves, nothing crazy there. Then we start getting into things that I wrote for the Valley Vara, which is where we start getting into some really, oh no, moments. So Hartox, large lumbering and fur-covered herbivores. They are so large most animals within the mountains will not attempt to attack them. While they are not actively aggressive, they will charge and crush any large creature that gets too close. Meaning the troopers. Oh hey, look, it looks like a fuzzy cow. Basically, it's a bison. It's think like a weird combo between a bison and an ox. Hartox. Now another one. The Pine Devil. I really like this one. This is flat out just a Jersey Devil ripoff. I'm not denying it, and I will say that shamelessly. A strange creature, the head of a wolf, the body of a bear, wings of a raven, and the feet of elves. This creature stalks the pines of the north, attacking those unfortunate enough to cross its path. Those who survive its attacks describe an eerie silence. That should be eerie. An eerie silence being broken by the ghastly by a ghastly howl as the beast tears their compatriots limb from limb. If it tries to kill you, kill it. If it doesn't try to kill you, don't give it a reason. Yeah, pretty much. The wise decision of this module, as far as I can tell, based on the way I'm writing it so far, is avoid, avoid, avoid.